If I own stock in something and I do a good job and the stock market goes up, I guess I'm profiting. But who really profits is somebody like Nancy Pelosi, who uses inside information. She worked for $175,000 a year, and that's at the high end, and she's worth $150, $200 million. Okay? You ought to look at Nancy Pelosi, and you ought to look at some of these politicians that are stone cold crooks. I was very wealthy when I came in. Being president, I probably cost me money if you really look. If I own stock in something and I do.
Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining me here at the Chris Highland Show. Really appreciate you rolling up. We got a great show for you on this wonderful Monday, Cinco de Mayo, for anybody who's celebrating. Hope you have some great Mexican food and margaritas. Enjoy. I know my wife will be doing that tonight, so she is excited. But we've got to cover some of the bombshell things that happened over the weekend. Trump appearing on Meet the Depressed with Kristen Welker and just destroyed this hapless propaganda talking head. It was funny. As he fact-checked her live right in the middle of the show, he's taking none of her ridiculous nonsense, called her out for exactly who she and the rest of the lamestream Communist Party media is. It's just absolutely amazing. So we're going to dive into that. We're going to dive into this horrific story that's coming out of Cincinnati, Ohio, with now 2 people dead and an officer-involved shooting that has led to another death. I cover that. And finally, we're going to cover just a little bit of the shock UK elections that happened overnight. It is just amazing stuff out there. So really appreciate everybody rolling up. Thanks for being here. We're going to dive right in. So let's dive into Donald Trump appearing on Meet the Depressed with Kristen Welker. We're going to get into a couple clips here, but he just absolutely destroyed her. Let's check out the next one. She tries to get him on tariffs, increasing prices, and how dare you do that? You were brought into lower prices, but check how he deftly manipulates this conversation. It's absolutely awesome. Here we go.
So small businesses say they are being hurt by the Chinese tariffs, and some could be forced to shut down.
And many businesses are being helped.
Are you considering tariff relief for small businesses?
Why do you always mention that, you pick up a couple of little businesses? What about the car business? They're going to make a fortune because of the tariffs. Do you know that the union, the head of the union, who was no fan of mine, Sean Fain, I guess his name is, right? He didn't endorse me. The Teamsters did. A lot of people did. A lot of unions did. But he didn't. He couldn't stand me. Now he's saying, wow, what Trump's done for the automobile, I can't believe it. I assume he's going to probably now say the next thing he can say is, I endorse this guy. He's the greatest I've ever seen. He can't believe it's happened. He said, we've been waiting 40 years for somebody to do what Trump is doing. So why don't you mention the big car industry instead of mentioning somebody that's doing strollers?
Well, I'm just asking you about small businesses. Are there any discussions about giving any relief to small businesses?
They're not going to need it.
Okay.
They're going to make so much money.
Are these tariffs?
If you build your product here. Remember, there are no tariffs if you build product here. It's very easy. Very simple.
So absolutely right. So Trump, again, is in the process of reorganizing, realigning global trade. And he's doing it because we've been getting ripped off for a long time. And part of getting ripped off that has been happening is the fact that we are the largest consumer market. We're the consumer market, not others. So, in that respect, we own the gold. We make the rules. The old adage, he who owns the gold makes the rules. Well, this is what being the largest consumer market on the planet gets you. Now, it would be different if, as the largest consumer market, we were, 13% of the global consumption, and there was a bunch of people at 12 and a bunch of people at 11. No. We are 39% of global consumption. We are so much bigger than anybody else. We are the elephant in the room compared to a bunch of mice and the occasional small dog. That's how big of a difference it is. And that's why we can do this. And Trump is saying we have to do it now while we still have the clout and the leverage to do it. We have to realign global trade. So it's at worst, it becomes free. It becomes equal one way or the other. At best, it's going to be free, but you're going to pay a fee to enter the United States market, unless you can pay that fee one of two ways. You can pay a 10% tariff, which the entire world will pay to access our consumers, or you can make your product here in the United States. Now, Kristen Welker asked a question. Well, what about these small businesses that are hurting? Hey, I know a lot of people who sell on Amazon. My wife is sold on Amazon. And yes, that is a serious problem because most of the products that were procured, I say most, for Amazon from independent sellers were procured from China because it was the lowest cost supplier. Well, these small businesses are going to be hurting, but they're only going to be hurting for a while because, again, it goes back to the book, if anybody's read it, Who Moved My Cheese? And people will simply adapt to the new rules. If the new rules are China is not the least expensive supplier, they will go and find the least expensive supplier. And this is actually going to help small business in the long run. There will be some pain in the short run, especially for people who bought product, priced product, did all the research for a specific product, brought it in from China, but now they ordered it, but they didn't receive it before the tariffs hit. So now all of a sudden the prices have changed and there could be some serious pain for that. But what will be helped 6 months or 9 months from now is that those same small businesses will not now be competing with their Chinese manufacturers on the same platform. Because what happens to Amazon sellers is they go to China and they say, hey, they do all the research, they get an idea, they design it, they tweak it, they differentiate it. They go to China, they say, can you make this? They say, yes, here we go. Here's some pricing. They work on it. They get it done. They get it. They start selling on Amazon. Immediately, that same or a related supplier will take the exact same product, simply, they don't have to duplicate it. They're making it. They simply post it on Amazon at a 30% discount. And this is what small businesses are encountering now. They're competing with Chinese unfair trade practices, even in our own country. And so this has to end. So Trump is absolutely right. Regardless of what tariffs are doing for major industries, which will drive major employment, which will drive all sorts of economic activity in the United States. Imagine a factory. Let's just take the Taiwan semiconductor factory coming in Arizona. They say it's going to employ 20,000 people. Even if those are mid-level paying jobs, they're paying $40,000, $50,000 a year, which is not a huge amount of money. There's going to be a lot of those 20,000 that are paying 60, 70, 80, 90, or even more. But you put a group of 20,000 people that are making $50,000, $60,000 a year. What do they need? They need to buy groceries. They need to buy cars. They need to get those cars serviced. They need to buy tires. They need to buy strollers. They need to buy stuff for their kids. They need to get their hair done. They want to go to movies. All of the stuff that they do with a portion of that $50,000 or $60,000 or $70,000 drives 10x the economic activity of just them getting paid, because all of that now funnels businesses. It fuels jobs. It fuels more income. It creates an entire ecosystem infrastructure. Now imagine doing that in all 50 states, maybe not to that extent because Taiwan Semiconductor is going to be huge, but imagine that in the South with car plants, in the North with car plants, with steel plants, with pharmaceutical plants, with all of the economic activity coming back. He's absolutely right. And he's owning Welker on this. It's amazing. Trump keeps going. And he just destroys Welker because, again, the propaganda, talking head media is so biased that even if they ask what on its face, if you read a transcript, might be a fair question, the way they frame it, the way their body language is, the way their tone is, everything is negative in their eyes. Check this out.
And media is so fake. including, I like the way you ask questions. Every question is asked in a negative vein. There's a toy company that took a toddler's, whatever, but you don't talk about the fact that gasoline is down at numbers that nobody believes possible. You know why they're down, by the way? Drill, baby, drill. We're drilling like crazy right now.
We try to make sure every question is fair, Mr. President.
Look, every question you ask says a very negative.
No.
I'm fine responding to you. I don't think you're very difficult at all to respond to be honest with you. But you know what? You should ask some positive things like, sir, it's amazing what you've done with gasoline. Because you know what? Gasoline's big business. A stroller is not big business. The media is so fake, including like even the way you ask questions. Every question is asked in a negative vein. There's a toy company that took a toddler.
Again, he's talking about this idea that you've got to look at the bigger business. Now, I want to get from that into, into the other price discussion, which I thought this was a clip I was. Check out this, because he gets into the other side of the price discussion where he absolutely fact checks her right on TV, and she doesn't have anything to say. This is absolutely glorious. Check this out.
Prices are already going up. Some
This is such a dishonest interview already. Prices are down on groceries. Prices are down for oil. Prices are down for all energy. Prices are down at tremendous numbers for gasoline. And let me tell you, when you have the big thing, what he did, he spent like a stupid person, which he was, but he spent like a very stupid person. And that was bad for inflation. But what really killed us with inflation was the energy.
He's absolutely right. Prices are coming down. This false narrative that prices are going up, the only place, because of his tariffs, the only place that prices are really going up are in basically imported cheap items. Yes, are dolls going to cost more? Sure. Are toys going to cost more? Maybe. If they're not made in America, yeah, there's going to be an initial price increase until suppliers that are buying that stuff from China can reorient it to India or Vietnam or somewhere else, or made in America, at which point you might have a lasting, price increase. But a lot of people would much rather pay a little bit more for an item and have it manufactured in the United States and drive American jobs and American economic activity, because that fuels the entire economy. He's absolutely right. And prices everywhere else are coming down. Energy is coming down. Mortgage rates are coming down. Food is coming down. Eggs are coming down. All of the other underlying costs to economic activity, to the prices we pay for everything else, the price of energy to make products, the price of energy for logistics, the price of real estate, everything else is trending already down. The CPI is down, inflation is down. He is 100% doing what he promised to do. He never said that prices would go down overnight. You can't do that. It's a $30 trillion economy. It takes a while to turn the ship. Hey, Gene Nunez Torren, really appreciate you rolling up today from sunny Orlando. And Capo in the house, thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. All right, we got a couple more clips from Meet the Depressed. One of them was on the entire immigration situation. We got two of them possibly. So let me get into the whole. Let's start the immigration, because she did go there, which is Trump's most popular, from his approval polls, his most popular policy position. Let's check that out.
A million or two. If you're talking about that, then we'd have to have 1 million or 2 million or 3 million trials. We have thousands of people that are murderers and drug dealers and some of the worst people on earth. But some of the worst, most dangerous people on earth. And I was elected to get them the hell out of here, and the courts are holding me from doing it.
100%. The American people overwhelmingly favor getting rid of criminal illegal aliens. And the American people, by majority, favor getting rid of every single illegal alien, whether they are here whether they're the nicest person in the world, if they are here illegally, 56% of Americans say, get them the heck out of the country. And when it comes to criminal illegal aliens, that number is in the 80s, depending on the poll you look at, in the 70s, in the 80s, even in some cases, depending on the poll, in the low 90s. Americans want the criminal illegal aliens out. Now, there's a little bit longer clip on this immigration debate. Let's check it out.
The return, everyone who's here, citizens and non-citizens, deserve due process. Do you agree? So let's talk about this, because obviously you've had a back and forth with the Supreme Court. In a 9-0 decision, the Supreme Court directed your administration to facilitate the return. You've talked about this in the past, of Kilmar Abrego Garcia from a prison in El Salvador, whose deportation your administration called an administrative error.
No, yes, they said that the Trump administration should facilitate his return, essentially so we can have a virtual hearing and be immediately deported back. But this idea that it was a mistake to deport him, that was a Biden holdover in the Department of Justice, who essentially has been fired, has been sequestered. So no, it was not a mistake. Based on talking to Stephen Miller and Pam Bondi, they have both said that once Trump designated MS-13 a terrorist organization, withholding deportation orders no longer apply. But again, that is the purview probably of an appellate level court. But let's keep going.
You said in a recent interview you could bring him back, but you won't. Are you defying the Supreme Court, sir?
No, I'm relying on the Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi, who's very capable, doing a great job, because I'm not involved in the legality or the illegality of lawyers to do that. And that's why I have a great DOJ. We have a great one. We had a very corrupt one before. Now we have a great one. And they're not viewing the decision the way you said it. They don't view it that way at all. They think it's a totally different decision.
Well, you say you have the power to bring him back, though. Your attorney general says, quote, that's up to El Salvador. Just to put a fine point on this, do you have the power to bring Abrego Garcia back as the Supreme Court?
Well, I have the power to ask for him to come back if I'm instructed by the attorney general that it's legal to do so.
Absolutely. He has the power to ask the El Salvadoran government to send us one of their citizens. This is why the Democrats have now been trying to distance themselves. I'm surprised she brought it up. I'm surprised she didn't just go into a due process question in general and leave it nebulous. No, she went directly to Kilmar Abrego Garcia, which was a really dumb move on her part. Why? Because everybody knows a couple of things. Kilmar Abrego Garcia is an El Salvadoran citizen. Everybody knows he is here illegally. Everybody now you've got two schools of thought. Was he a member of MS-13 or not? But it doesn't matter that he is. It doesn't change the fact he's here illegally. Now he is in El Salvador, his home country. So President Trump is supposed to call El Salvador and demand that an El Salvadorian national, an El Salvadorian citizen, be immediately shipped to the United States. There is nothing legal in that. Next, you have the other side of the argument. There were two adjudicated immigration hearings that resulted in deportation orders. Stephen Miller has made it abundantly clear that when you have a deportation order from a court, that is a must comply. It is not a, hey, if you want to deport this guy, you can. No. A deportation order from a court says you must deport this person. So now you've got an issue where, wait a minute, why would we ask for the return of somebody who by law, by court order, was mandated to be deported to another country, back to their home country? Now, so that's why Trump is saying, hey, there's a whole lot of facets to this that you're not getting. And you focusing on one stupid part of it is helping your cause, and it's not right. He cannot demand that El Salvador get rid of an El Salvadoran citizen. Now, it's one thing if they were extraditing him, if we had an extradition treaty and we wanted to try him in U.S. court for a crime on U.S. soil. But we don't. We want to let him languish in El Salvador prison. We just don't want him. And even if we don't care if El Salvador releases him into the greater public. We just don't want him here. But what the president of El Salvador has said is there's no way in heck he's going to get him out of prison because he is a gang-banging terrorist. So regardless, you've got Trump just destroying Welker over and over and over again on Meet the Depressed. So, hey, really appreciate Resnap is in the house. Thanks so much for being here. We got a bunch of people watching. If everybody could please smash that like button for me, bang on it right now, hit that thumbs up, like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like the content, please share a Chris Highland show with everybody that you know. Lynn Sanger also in the house. Thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. All right. I want to jump to a different story, but we're going to keep on the vein of of Trump in front of the media. But in this particular case, it was his 100-day town hall. Now, he did an interview with Cuomo and Bill O'Reilly and Stephen A. Smith. There wasn't a whole lot, adversarial in that interview. But what that interview dovetailed into was the three of them inviting James Carville, the Ragin' Cajun, the Democrat deranged lunatic, on stage. And that led to a whole mess of fireworks that were not expected between Bill O'Reilly, a little bit of Chris Cuomo, and James Carville. You've got to see this because O'Reilly gets absolutely hot under the collar. Check this out. We're going to start with the first clip, and then we'll dive into the rest. Here we go.
Getting killed on trade. Right. Somebody had to do something. Right. It's risky, but I'm all in for America.
Well, as we're saying, hurricane country, he was speaking 200 words a minute with gusts up to 350 words a minute. But he sounded like a guy that lost 15 points for his job approval and is presiding over 3/10 minus negative economic growth. So he says we were losing $5 billion a day to trade. Okay. The market lost $5 trillion. Now, this is Cajun math, but I think 5 trillion is more than 5 billion. If I just take...
All right, we're going to stop right. I'm going to interrupt here. Two things. He tries to slide in this minus 0.3 GDP growth, which we've already debunked. Please go watch our previous video on the GDP numbers. When you actually look at the numbers and you factor out the fact, you factor out the decrease in government spending, which is junk GDP. Yes, it's included in the GDP number. The only reason Biden ever had a positive GDP in his 4 years in office was he was rapidly escalating government spending. So when you factor that out, and you also factor out the big increase in imports because businesses saw the tariffs coming and they were front-loading imports in Q1, imports are a negative GDP number. If you import something, it becomes negative GDP until you sell it, then it becomes positive GDP. So if you factor out those two numbers, the real GDP growth in America was, based on who you ask and how they do their numbers, was somewhere between 3 and 5%. 3% being absolutely sustainable, healthy, awesome. 5% being, wow, that is a red hot economy. So the minus 0.3 GDP growth is an absolute non-starter. It's complete junk. It's false narrative. Then the other thing, well, we were losing $5 billion a day and the market lost $5 trillion. The market lost $5 trillion in paper value. It only was real value if you sold at the lower value. Most Americans who are holding 401k or other investments, they don't trade on a daily basis. All they did was look at it and go, well, that sucks. My 401k went down. And over the next 10 days, their 401k went right back up. The market has regained most of that $5 trillion loss. And he's going to get called out on this stuff, which is beautiful. Let's go.
Take him at the work.
That's not a permanent loss, though. And you come back in a heartbeat.
So you may.
So what's
but if you lose, if it goes down 12% and then you come back 10, you're still down 2.
If he loses the midterms,
we'll see. We'll see what happens in Virginia. We got plenty. We got plenty of football left to play.
Cuomo's question is: look, he's trying to right some wrongs, and when you do that, you're going to run into headwinds. You know that.
Oh, wait a minute. We had what the economists call the economy that was the envy of the world. Okay? Does anybody look at the U.S. economy now and say, we're the envy of the world?
Absolutely. We are still the envy of the world, and we're going to become even more enviable. James Carville's a moron. All right? He's very savvy politically, and he was very good in his day with the Clintons and that part of the regime when they were more somewhat center left. But the new party is so far to the left, and they've drugged him so far to the left, and he is now infected with TDS that he can't get around his own hatred of Trump and the Republicans. Yes, we are the economy to be envied around the world. We are the number one consumer economy. We are the number one GDP economy. And Trump is in the process of realigning global trade so that it orbits around America, which is what it should do. No more will nations be able to rip us off. If you want to do business in America, as a nation, we're going to have somewhat level playing. We're going to have a level playing field. The only thing that will be unlevel about that playing field will be generally that you as a nation will probably have much lower labor costs than America does. But you will pay a tariff to access the American consumer market. If you don't want to pay that tariff, then you will build your product in America. Trump is reorienting the American economy so we are not dependent on our adversaries or our enemies, and we are going to repopulate American manufacturing, which is exactly what we need to do. And we are still the envy of the world. And in 9 months, 6 to 9 months, we will be, I believe, the envy of the world plus 50%. Watch.
We've lost all of this market share. We have negative economic growth. We're installing a policy that hasn't worked yet and try to corn laws in England. And so we're starting a trade war that have no idea what he's doing. And now he's saying, well, maybe you're only going to get $2 for Christmas and it might cost you a little bit more. Okay, well, I'm 80 years old, so I'm not worried about the price of dollars that much right now. But what's working here? Nothing.
So what would you do? What would you do?
Well, first thing, I would have never started a trade war.
Okay, so you're okay with $1 trillion going out when it comes in?
You know,
exactly. O'Reilly owns him on this. This is beautiful. O'Reilly gets hot under the collar later on. We're going to check that out. But O'Reilly absolutely pins him to the floor with this, and Carville can't get out of it. So you're fine with $1 trillion going out the door. Well, I don't buy dolls. Guess what? A lot of Americans do, but they're willing to spend more money on a luxury item. When I say luxury, I mean you want your kid to have a doll for Christmas, right? It's not really a luxury. They're not super expensive. It's not like you're buying a $1,000 doll. It's not what we're talking about. We're talking about an item that is not food, clothing, shelter, healthcare, right? Energy. All of those. Trump is powering the U.S. economy. Yes, you might only get $2 and they might cost you $1 more than getting $30. But we will build cars in America. We will make pharmaceuticals in America. We will make semiconductors in America. We will make steel in America. Our agriculture will once again rule the world. We will drill here, drill now. We will be energy independent and the largest exporter in the world. So for a while, that doll might cost you more. But we are going to create millions of new, good paying, middle class jobs in manufacturing, which will funnel millions more good paying small businesses, service jobs, other jobs. We are going to drive the engine of the American economy through this. O'Reilly's absolutely right on that. Now I want to get into, because this dovetailed into Carville in a sequence with somebody who was the audience talking about this economy. And Carville makes another boneheaded statement. Check this out.
Country that makes cars. And
all right, that's the nature. And by the way, I have on 6 items of clothes: shoes, socks, jeans, skivvies, t-shirt, and sweatshirt.
So happy.
You know how many of these were made in America? None. None. And I don't want to live in a country that makes t-shirts. I can buy them from somewhere.
Wait. You don't want to live in a country that makes T-shirts.
Yeah, we don't need to do that. We make airplanes. We make movies.
But the United States.
We drill oil. We make all kinds of things. We don't need to make T-shirts.
But I do want to live in a country that makes cars. And
That's
don't
fine.
you?
Yes.
I do. I want
Guess what? I want to live in a country that makes everything. If you want to make a T-shirt, make it in America. If you want to access the American consumer market or pay a 10% tariff. You want to make your T-shirt in a country that pays $2 a day for labor, go right ahead. When you import that product, you're paying 10%. You're paying the cost to access the American economy. And when we start getting that mentality correct, because in the mentality that James Carville is going down, we no longer make T-shirts. Eventually, we will no longer make cars. We will no longer drill for oil. The stuff that he talks about is all going out. 20, 30 years ago, yeah, we made steel. We don't make steel anymore. Do you want to, I guess Carville doesn't want to be in a country that makes, wait, I don't want to make steel. I don't want to do that. I don't want to make semiconductors. No, because eventually you will export everything to the lowest labor bidder. And that is not what we want to do, because we want Americans employed. We want Americans to have options. Do they want to do, do they want to go to college and get a job that requires that you think, that requires an education and that sort of thing? Do you want a manufacturing job? Do we want a pathway to the middle class for people who may not have the requisite and God-given intelligence to do some of the things that other people do? Yes, we do, because that economy where you have a robust middle class with a pathway to wealth spurs innovation and everything else. And the more we fuel that, the more everybody will get rich. I want to be in a country that makes T-shirts and steel and airplanes and cars and drills for oil, all of it. But right now, you're pretty soon going to be in a country that doesn't make airplanes anymore, if you're not careful.
to live in a country that has manufacturing.
So you think I know where the steering wheel was made?
Let's get some more perspective.
You think I know where the tires were made? No.
Detroit City.
Do I think I care? No.
Let's get some more stuff. Let's get some more voices added to this. And
all right. So the last clip that I want to play, and Lynn Sanger, I'm absolutely with you. They stooped so low to create a fear of the Trump administration. Everything is fear-based. Fear, Trump is, deporting people without due process. Oh, the trade war is going to destroy the economy. None of these things are true. The economy is far more healthy today than it was 5 months ago. And I don't care about the blip in the stock market because that was going to happen no matter what, whether it happened now or 2 months from now or 6 months from now. The market always corrects. And the market's been on an upward trajectory based on inflation, which is not a real increase in market productivity and wealth. It's just the fact that everything costs more. So all of a sudden, your stock value valued against a decreasing dollar is suddenly worth more. Well, all of that's going to correct eventually. The economy is far more healthy now. We've got lower inflation, lower CPI. We've got real economic growth. When you factor out the junk GDP numbers, the fact that we cut massively government spending and there was a huge amount of imports in Q1, you're looking at 4 to 5% growth. That is huge. We start chunking that quarter after quarter, you're going to see rapidly rising wages. You're going to see, even if prices don't fall off a cliff, which they won't, you'll have much higher net income rises, so people won't care as much. But the price of that stuff, the eggs, the energy, the oil, all of that is going to come steadily down back to what we call an equilibrium level. This is all going to be fantastic. Now, I want to play this clip because Bill O'Reilly gets into it with Carville, and Carville absolutely deserves it, and O'Reilly owns him. This is just amazing stuff.
I would not extend these billionaire tax cuts, and I would not pay for them by clobbering the middle class and the lower middle class by cutting Medicaid expenses, of which
he said he wasn't going to cut Medicaid.
Go watch the budget that's been submitted. It's already got 600. He said he was going to end the war.
There's nothing about cutting Medicaid in the budget.
Did
This
he
is
say
just
or not say?
propaganda,
Did
Jim.
he say I'm not? Did he say or not say I'm going to end the
It's a bunch of
Ukraine war?
bull, and you know it.
It is a bunch of bull. I love it. I'm going to back this up and play it a little bit because I want you to hear see the whole thing. But he's absolutely right. First of all, the Trump tax cuts are not tax cuts for billionaires. It's tax cuts for the middle class. It's lower tax rates for every single income earner from 0 to 50, from 50 to 100. And I forget the tax brackets off the top of my head. But every single tax bracket gets a tax cut. It cuts the corporate tax down to 15%. It makes us competitive on the world stage. That supply side, along with the tariffs, is going to drive manufacturing back to America so that we start, seeing job reports with 400,000 new jobs a quarter. It's going to be amazing. I believe in what Trump is doing. And O'Reilly is right to call Carville out because Carville is lying through his teeth.
Putting Medicaid in the budget.
Oh, yeah. There is absolutely nothing in the budget. And Trump has said this 57 times, 3 ways from Sunday. They are not cutting any benefits for Medicare or Social Security or Medicaid. They are only cutting waste, fraud, and abuse.
Did
This
he
is
say
just
or not say?
propaganda,
Did
Jim.
he say I'm not? Did he say or not say I'm going to end the
It's a bunch
Ukraine
of
war?
bull, and you know it.
No,
you can't. You can't say it's in the budget. There's a Medicaid cut when there isn't.
Excuse me for
I thought
speaking
you
while
were
you
the bouncer.
interrupted me.
I am. This is ridiculous.
Can I
And he
make a
does
point?
it every night.
Can I make a point?
Yes, go ahead.
He was going to end the Ukraine war on day one.
Oh, come on.
What did
It's
he say that?
absurd.
What
What
did-
did Biden do for 4 years in there? Nothing.
I didn't
drive
say
me
that.
nuts.
He said he was going.
Now, you got to realize that O'Reilly is not a Trump sycophant. O'Reilly is not a Trump fan. O'Reilly, to his credit, tries to be a journalist. And there are many times he criticizes President Trump, but he has never been a Trump cheerleader. He's not like me. I mean, and a lot of us I'm far more a Trump cheerleader than I am not. But O'Reilly is not a Trump cheerleader. And the fact that he is getting into a heated debate with Carville over the nonsense lies that Carville is telling, and that he is so mad, actually, this made me laugh the whole time.
You can't tell by your
Please
demeanor.
fact check me. Somebody look
Very
it up on your
calm.
cell phone. Did Trump say I'm going to end the Ukraine war on day one?
And that's neither here nor there because you can't do it unilaterally. But he is working to end it. And he has certainly ended our multi-$100 billion boondoggle in Ukraine. We're not giving them any more money. And that this war will come to an end. I believe. We're going to give it another couple months. We're going to see some things shake out, and we'll probably see it come to an end. Now, maybe not. They may entrench themselves, at which point Trump and Rubio are going to walk away and fight it out, have fun. But we're done. We're out. But we've got the Ukraine minerals deal, which is step one. We now have a vested interest in getting this thing over, and we now have some security guarantees that the Russians cannot ignore.
And I was going to wear an LSU T-shirt, but I'm not now.
You don't have to.
Can I ask a quick question?
We'll get over it.
You got to fight to get into this.
I'm not going to fight.
You got to get in.
Exactly. There would be no cuts to Social Security, Medicare. O'Reilly calls him out, calls him a clown, says that is absolutely a lie. Show me in the budget where there's cuts. And he can't because there are no cuts in the budget. There are cuts to people who should not be getting. Yes, illegal aliens getting Medicaid and Medicare, done. You're gone. Illegal aliens collecting anything from Social Security, you're done. You're out. Waste, fraud, and abuse, Social Security going to people over 120 years old, done. Social Security going to people under 12, done. All of those sorts of things are going to be ferreted out. But that's not cuts to benefits. I love this clip. I love the fact that O'Reilly got hot under the collar at this TDS moron Carville. Now, I'm going to switch gears here because I want to dive, now that we've discussed the egregious talking head propaganda media and how absolutely vile and dishonest they are and how Trump deranged they are. No matter how much you hate the propaganda globalist media, it is not enough. Your absolute disdain for them it's not enough. I'm telling you, it's not enough. It's got to be more. As much as I despise the propaganda media, it's not enough. It's just not enough. They are so egregiously dishonest and evil. Now, talking about but we're not talking about the media, but talking about something that the media has fueled over the last 20 years. And that is this whole black-white race relations, cops are gunning down innocent black people, nonsensical, dishonest, absolutely untrue narrative. Just watch Dave Rubin, watch Larry Elder. They completely debunked this 3 ways from Sunday. Now, we had a very, very tragic situation happen in Cincinnati. We had 2 of them. One, both of them could have been avoided. But I'm going to play this the news clip. It started out with a officer-involved shooting of a young man, a young black man, in Cincinnati, Ohio, by the Cincinnati PD. This gentleman was in the process of committing a felony, and things went sideways. I'm going to start playing that clip because it has led to the death of another officer. Check this out.
Of an 18-year-old killed in an officer-involved shooting on Thursday. A suspect charged with aggravated murder. Here's ABC's Christian Correa.
Tonight, authorities say the shooting of an 18-year-old captured on police body cam is connected to the death of an Ohio deputy after that teen's father allegedly hit him with a car a day later. Prosecutors say the attack was calculated and premeditated. Cincinnati PD responding to reports of a stolen Kia at an apartment building Thursday morning. 4 suspects then fleeing police. Among them, 18-year-old Ryan Hinton. Body camera Hinton fall, tries to run away. He said heard a metal clinking sound they believe was a gun.
He's got a gun! He's got a gun! On your right! On your right! He's got a gun!
As Hinton emerges from behind a dumpster, authorities say another officer firing 4 or 5 shots.
The officer says that he saw the suspect point the firearm at him.
Yes. Just 6 seconds passed between when police arrived and gunshots rang out. Officials say they tried administering medical aid. Hinton was struck twice and died. Investigators saying this gun was recovered from the scene allegedly found in Hinton's possession. On Friday.
Now, we stop here because this is a tragedy. No matter what, whether it was a deserved tragedy or not. If this 18-year-old had a gun and he was pointing at the officer, then the officer is completely within his rights to shoot. However, we don't know that from this particular body cam video. It's blurred. It's not good. So let's wait till we see. Let's wait to pass judgment on this Cincinnati PD officer while we wait for additional body cam footage and other things. And I'm actually going to play because we've got a little bit better body cam footage. So let me pull that up while we discuss the first half of this tragic situation. So here's the body cam. A little bit better. Good. Okay. So there we see the 18-year-old. Does he have a gun? I don't know. I can't tell from this particular body cam footage. Now, there are at least 3 other officers. Let's wait to see their body cam footage.
Based on the officers' interviews, the officer who did discharge his firearm said that when the individual came out between the dumpsters, he had the firearm in front of him. He was in like a bladed position, and it was pointed at the officer. And he felt threatened for his life, and that's...
Now, that's the officer's account, okay? There was also a gun found at the scene. You're going to hear plenty of reports of people like, police plant guns all the time. Hey, could the gun have been planted? Sure, it's a possibility. Let's wait to get all the facts before we pass judgment on everybody involved. But what we do know about this particular case so far is that an 18-year-old was involved in felony grand theft auto. 4 kids, adults, 18-year-old adult, 4 people were boosting a car. So we know that they were involved in grand theft auto. There was a report of a stolen Kia. They were in the stolen Kia. They evaded police in a car chase. When the police finally tracked them, got them to stop, the 4 people fled the vehicle. So they were involved in a felony theft. They evaded police. Then when the car was stopped, they evaded police again. And so now you've got a situation where a cop felt threatened. Should he have felt threatened? I don't know. This is where it gets nebulous. But we do know that they were in the process of committing a felony. So they were in the process of committing a crime. They made a choice to commit that crime. That doesn't mean you should be executed for that crime, but you have now put yourself in a position. As my father used to say, if you're around trouble, you're in trouble, especially criminal trouble. So those are facts right there. Now, what's still left open to interpretation? Did he have a gun? Was the officer in danger? Those sorts of things. However, what this has led to is another tragedy. Let's keep going with the story.
A day after that shooting and 2 hours after the Hinton family reviewed the body camera footage, according to the family's lawyer, a driver crashing a car into a Hamilton County deputy directing traffic near a commencement ceremony, killing him. The suspect, authorities say, is Ryan Hinton's father, Rodney Hinton Jr. Hinton's attorney calling the officer's death a horrific tragedy. At his first court appearance today, Hinton walked through a room packed with law enforcement. He's now charged with aggravated murder. The Hamilton County Sheriff says the deputy's death was a tremendous loss. Hinton Jr. is currently being held on no bail. His bond hearing scheduled for Tuesday.
The father of...
All right, so here we've got a major problem. You've got Rodney Hinton, who after reviewing body cam footage, and maybe that footage shows that the shooting of his son was unjustified. Maybe, I don't know. Let's wait to see it. Whatever happened in that viewing, he gets up, gets in his car, and goes and intentionally murders somebody in cold blood. Regardless of the reports that you will see on social media and other places, he did not unalive the Cincinnati PD officer who shot his son. No, his son was shot by Cincinnati PD. The officer that he unalived was a Ohio County Sheriff's deputy. Completely unrelated people. A completely different police force. He unalived somebody who was 100% not related to the tragedy with his son. This man is going to go down for murder. No matter what people raise in nonsense, give, send, go, or GoFundMe, he premeditatedly went to unalive a sheriff's deputy who was innocent of anything having to do with his son. So now you have destroyed, tragedy has destroyed your son's life and obviously impacted yours as a father. But now you have gone and destroyed your own life, the rest of your family's life. You have destroyed the life of the deputy's wife because he was married, and I believe he has 4 children. So now you have robbed 4 children of a father who was completely innocent of what happened to your son. This is driven by nonsense media accounts that they have constantly driven this oppressor-oppressed nonsense, this black versus white race war nonsense. This is driven by fake media accounts that leads to continued victimization, that leads to constant strife, which leads to disinformation, misinformation. And eventually you get people acting on complete emotion. And it's extremely sad. And this is the nonsense that you get from some social media out there. It's egregious what they've got going on. What is holding up signs on sticks got to do? That's your mama asking you nicely to be quiet. Nah, MFs, listen, better when action is involved. Cincinnati, time to riot. A Cincinnati police officer shot a boy in his back. He ran right past the officer, shot him. Expletive. That's it. Time we stand together and take these MFs down. This is the nonsense that you get from social media. Now, there's another one that I want to show you because it's an actual, here's the Give, Send, Go, the GoFundMe that they're currently trying to raise money on. Everything's about raising money now. It's just ridiculous. GoFundMe glorifying Rodney Hinton. This is just sad, especially when he premeditatedly unalived somebody totally unrelated to the case. Then you've got more nonsense from social media. This is the garbage that is driven by mainstream media. Good job? Are you serious? Good job for what? That's what I'm talking about. Don't talk about it. Go do something about it. You didn't do anything about it. The guy was completely unrelated to the death of your son. Eye for an eye. Yeah, that only, in this particular case, it only works if your definition of eye for an eye is person A unalives person B, person C unalives person D. Okay, makes no sense whatsoever. It's absolute garbage. And finally, you've got this ridiculous person on social media. This is the nonsense you're going to see over and over again. This is the narrative that has to stop. This is the type of person that has to be ridiculed, shunned, absolutely destroyed from a reputation perspective by both blacks and whites, Republicans and Democrats, because this is egregious.
Y'all heard about that daddy that just ran over the police that unalived his son?
No, he did not run over the police that unalived his son. He ran over someone who's completely innocent. You moron.
Cincinnati officers tracked down a stolen vehicle.
Police in there chasing these 4 teens in this car.
4 people get out and start.
You only see 6 seconds of this video. It was foggy as shit. Like the cop, this cop was a retired cop. He wasn't even supposed to be on duty to be doing shit like this. He's some old ass cop who claimed he saw a gun. But
no, the Cincinnati PD officer was not a retired cop. The Ohio sheriff's deputy that was unalived was a retired police officer. Oops, sorry about that. Yes, the sheriff's deputy who was unalived by Rodney was a retired officer. He had nothing to do with the death of Rodney Hinton's son.
And another officer said that the gun fell from him. Now, we know these young niggas carry weapons. And for them to just shoot little Buddy just because he was running, I mean, they're running. He shot Buddy and unalived him. Now, the daddy went and viewed the footage of said what happened. And after this, they say he stayed quiet and pleasant and left the room. Now, this happened next.
On MLK Drive, a deputy.
All right, so we've already heard the story. This is the kind of nonsense, hyper-partisan, race war crap that you are going to see from not only social media, but it will be pushed by mainstream, lamestream, globalist propaganda media as well. And it should be shut down. Not legally, that's not what I'm saying. It should be ratioed out of existence. Americans, black, white, Republican, Democrat, all the above, need to stand up for the actual victims in this case. The one victim is the retired Ohio sheriff's deputy who had nothing to do with anything else. Was the 18-year-old Hinton potentially a victim? Yes, potentially, but let's see the rest of the evidence first, because he was involved in a crime. We do know that. This is just an absolute tragedy, and it makes my heart sick. Now, Rodney Hinton is most likely going to do the rest of his life in prison because he went off on an emotional tirade and unalived someone who had absolutely no business being unalived. He was innocent of this particular crime anyway. Now, I have one more story that I want to get to. Thanks, everybody, for rolling up. Does Carville own a suit and tie? No, Resnap, I don't think he does. So we got one more story I want to talk about, and that is the bombshell elections in the UK. This is more great news. And on the eve of this, we've got also bombshell election results in Romania, which we'll just talk about at the end. But check this out from the UK. This is absolutely amazing. Nigel's Reform Party wins the day. Here we go.
A night of triumph for the UK's right-wing Reform Party.
Every one of you who voted for change.
Winning the parliamentary seat of Runcorn and Helsby from the ruling Labour Party in a by-election triggered after the sitting MP punched a constituent. It was the thinnest of margins, just 6 votes, but one obliterating a majority of 15,000 that Labour got in the general election just last year. The result reflecting a surge of votes for reform in England's local elections.
This is
It's just
phenomenal.
amazing. That represents like a 40-point swing, percentage points, like a 40-point swing. They were 15,000 down in the last election to 6 up. They erased a 15,000. That's like a Republican winning in a Dem plus 25 district. It's absolutely amazing.
We've got swings going on towards reform, massive swings from Conservatives, Staffordshire, massive swings from Labour happening in Doncaster, right here in one of their safest seats in the country.
Wins on a local level come with real power. Councils are in charge of multi-million-pound budgets and services like managing schools, maintaining roads and collecting waste.
All elections are local. And this is what we see from the UK. This is absolutely massive. This is a referendum. Much of it is a referendum on Keir Starmer and the whole Labour government. So this is what Reform gained: 659 council seats, 2 mayors, the member of parliament that we just saw, 9 councils fully under Reform control, 228,000 members. This is massive. This is the largest swing in UK politics in history that I know of. This is absolutely huge. Now, while this, at the end of this, Keir Starmer actually gets up and says this nonsense. It's just going to make you laugh. This is absolutely crazy. Wowza, the UK is waking up. Yes, it is, Lynn. So is Romania. The entire European Union is being affected now by Trump. Here we go.
Stand here and say Runcorn was close. We successfully defended 3 mayoralties, and the opposition parties tend to do well in these sorts of elections. I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do is respond and say it. We were elected in to deliver change. We've started that change. Waiting lists are down, wages are up, interest rates are down, huge, massive difference for people who are mortgage holders. But the message I take out of these elections is that we need to go further and we need to go faster on the change that people want to see, and that's what I'm determined to do.
Just very briefly, Barbara, do you accept reform
The
now?
change that people want to see. I thought this was the meme that won the day. After hearing Keir Starmer talk about, we just got our butts handed to us, but we did hold on to some stuff. And what this means is we need to go further and faster with the change that we were elected to do. Sorry, the biggest change that you were elected to do, you are on the opposite side of, and that is immigration, legal and illegal, and what it's doing to the UK. As Bill Ruffley said, let me check. You got to check this out, because I think this meme here was the meme of the day following the election. Well, that was an interesting series of elections in the United Kingdom. Having told white English girls to stop moaning about being SA'd by hordes of particular immigrants, the UK Labour Party has suffered over 50 defeats at the ballot box. This came as a great surprise to legacy British press, whose collective IQ is rumored to be an imaginary number. Imaginary number being the square root of -1. Meanwhile, the Conservative Party's sordid fumble under the billowing skirts of Britain's progressive left continues to leave the party's parliamentary wing unloved by anyone at all. It turns out that insulting your voters for 14 straight years in a row and then completely failing to heed the 2-fingered salute they gave you last year wasn't a very good idea. He's absolutely right. Meanwhile, I shall congratulate the Reform Party. They have clearly decided to put their trust in you. We shall see whether or not you're all flash and no trousers. Well, let's hope that it turns out that Nigel Farage and the Reform Party are all trousers. Hey, Cindy Rose, welcome in. Thanks so much for being here from Cali, from deep blue California. So with that, I will talk about this one last one, and that is, if you'll all remember, the Romanian elections, which happened last year, resulted in the quote-unquote far right, party and Grescu winning the first half of the elections. Well, immediately the globalists, the EU, and the Romanian courts stepped in to try to end that. So they basically shelved the election, said it was fraudulent, said they're going to redo it, and then they proceeded to using lawfare, the same that they tried against Trump. They got the Conservative Party leader, they basically banned him from the election. Well, that has backfired. Check this out. Because at the same time the UK elections were going on, the Romanian elections were going on, this is completely backfired. Simeon, who's the new head of the Conservative Party, has secured 40% of the vote in Romanian elections. 17% more than Georgescu's canceled win in November. So they canceled Georgescu's win, kicked him out of the election, said he couldn't run again, and the Conservatives appointed a new anti-immigration, anti-alien, illegal alien candidate who won by 17 points more than Georgescu did. The Trump effect is completely spinning Europe on its head. You've got the AfD making the largest gains in history in German parliament and in German elections. You've got the massive win by Reform. You've got the massive win by the Conservatives in Romania. Trump is reformatting global politics. It's absolutely amazing. Keep winning, more winning. Thanks everybody for rolling up. Please, if you could, smash that like button. Like, comment, and subscribe. And most importantly, please share Chris Highland Show with everybody that you know. Remember that God is good and he is sovereign. It'll all be good in the end. Till I catch you next time.